tonight's meeting to order. Roll call, please, Lisa.
Mrs. Calippa?
Here.
Ms. Burnett?
Here.
Ms. Lynch? Here. Mr. Merritt?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Prater?
Here.
Mr. Rose?
Here.
Mr. Schreck?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Okay, we'll stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first I'd like to make note of executive session, March 15th, for student discipline, potential litigation, and contract negotiations. I don't see anybody in the public. We'll move to, are there any student representatives outside?
I know that.
Tom? I know MASH isn't coming.
Going to come.
I don't see any.
I don't see
Okay.
any. So,
All right. Then we will move on to approval of minutes. Be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the following minutes of the regular board meeting of February 22nd, 2021, and Committee of the Whole for March 15th, 2021, and I need a motion.
Second.
Paula, Kevin, questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Move on to the committee reports, and first up is technology. Ross Prather, please.
Okay, thank you. Resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the E-rate agreements for internet and dark fiber with Armstrong Business Solutions. There is an attachment to the agenda, and I so move.
And I need a second. Thank you, Kevin. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to finance. Jeff Rose, please.
Resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the following financial activities: the Treasurer's Report for February of 2021, the financial statements, and the payment of bills, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And separately, the payment of bills for Girardi LP, and I so move.
Second.
I need to abstain from this due to conflict of interest.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries, opposed? Sorry. Motion carries with 8 yeas and 1 abstention.
Resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the 2021-2022 Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit budget in the total of $62,555,592. The board further approves the total member district's contributions to the General Operating Fund and School Improvement Services Fund budgets of the Intermediate Unit for the 2021-22 fiscal year for $1,743,487 with individual member district contributions as determined by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and I so move.
I need a second.
Second.
Melissa? Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
no.
Motion carries 8 to 1.
Resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the 2020-2021 final allocations for Title I and Title II, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Resolved that the school tax collectors of the respective municipalities listed below, having made a full and proper settlement in accordance with the law of the taxes levied by the Crawford Central School District for the fiscal year 2020-21 to be collected by him or her by paying over all taxes collected, by returning all unpaid taxes upon real property to Crawford County Claim Tax Bureau or other appropriate authorities, and having received various exonerations and credits, Crawford Central School District does hereby exonerate said tax collectors for all unpaid taxes for the tax year 2020, and his or her action in returning appropriate taxes to the appropriate authorities be approved subject to audit. This exoneration is contingent upon final approvals of the auditor, solicitor, and business manager for the Crawford Central School District, and I so move.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Resolved that pursuant to Act 32 of 2008, the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby appoints Guy W. O'Neill, Business Manager, as the Tax Collection Committee primary voting delegate for the Crawford Central School District, and further resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby reappoints Phyllis Lord, Assistant Business Manager, as the Tax Collection Committee alternate voting delegate for the Crawford Central School District, and further resolved that the primary voting delegate cannot attend a tax collection committee meeting, then the alternate voting delegate shall attend the tax collection committee meeting. The reappointment of Mr. O'Neill and Mrs. Lord as delegates are effective immediately and shall continue until their successors are appointed. Delegates shall be appointed or reappointed by the board each year. All delegates shall serve at the pleasure of the board, and I so move.
And I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to personnel. Be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby appoints Brian Miller as a representative to the Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2024. And I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin, in a second.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions or comments?
I'm going to vote no on this, but not because of Mr. Miller, but because of, I don't believe we have any business funding it, or do I care to be represented by it?
I have a comment. I fully support the Tri-County Intermediate Unit and Brad, its new executive director. I think they do a phenomenal job. Right now, they're getting vaccines in the arms of the teachers, and they really are reaching out with migrant education. I think that they're phenomenal, and they're really helping everybody involved. So it pains me to leave, but I'm eager to pass it on to Brian as well.
Thank you, Paula. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 8-1. Be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the 2021-2022 school calendar, and I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
It was Melissa first, Kevin.
Oh, was it Melissa first?
And
Kevin second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I believe, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Questions or comments?
I have a couple of comments on this one as well, and I will read just one sentence of a whereas here. Before we
We're on the
complain-
On the calendar?
We're on the
Frank, we're on the calendar
Oh,
right
you're on
now.
the, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next is approval of the request for a charter school funding reform. Whereas the average Pennsylvania school district spends millions of dollars in taxpayer money annually in mandatory payments to brick and mortar and cyber charter schools, and these payments are calculated in a manner which requires district to send more money to charter schools than is needed to operate their programs and places a significant financial burden on districts, resources, and taxpayers. It goes on, there's quite a bit in-depth detail as to why they're wanting the reform for the funding formula and the cost, as you can read down through, but I thought I would jump and summarize that the cost of the charter schools for the school districts continues to grow significantly each year on a statewide basis, are the most identified sources of pressure on school district budgets, and the need for significant charter school funding reform is urgent. The school districts are struggling to keep up with growing charter costs and are forced to raise taxes and cut staffing programs and services for their own students in order to pay millions of dollars to charter schools. So actually, they're really just looking for reform of how they calculate how the districts are to reimburse and pay for the charter schools. So now therefore be it resolved that the Crawford Central School Board calls upon the General Assembly to meaningfully revise the existing flawed charter school funding systems, for regular and special education to ensure that school districts and taxpayers are no longer overpaying these schools or reimbursing for costs that charter schools did not incur. We, along with the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, are advocating for substantial change. So this is just requesting that they go to request the change. It's not saying there will be a change. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Melissa, and a second. Paula, questions or comments?
Yes. The whereas I was talking about before. Whereas because the tuition rate calculations are based on the school district's expenses. Now I could read the rest of the paragraph. If I was to vote for this, I would want to know the outcome of the students in both our classrooms and the cyber school. Because I think somebody sooner or later here has got to be held accountable for our kids' education. So that's my reason.
Anybody else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 8-1. Be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the school district representation agreement with the law firms of Knox McLaughlin, Cornell, and Sennett, Lynn, Blackman, and Minitsky, PC, and Fraser, PLC, for representation in the litigation against Jewel Labs Incorporated. And I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. And a second? Jeff? Thank you. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next is, be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the waiver and stipulation involving student B. And I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Melissa. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Crawford Central School District hereby approves the following personnel schedules: A, C, D, E, G, H, I, and M. And I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. And a second?
Second.
Was that Brian?
Brian.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So at this point, I will turn it over to Mr. Washington.
Well, thank you, Madam President. I just want to say to the board that things are opening up slowly. Spring sports is on the way. So as we start to open up things slowly, we had Honor Society last week, and so as we go, as things are we're just opening up slowly. Our whole motto was to go slow, to go fast, to make sure that we can get some things. We've hit a couple of bumps in the road. We've had some students that have shown up positive, but we continue to move forward. I'm always in touch with Dr. Dawson whenever we have cases, and to go to review everything with her to ensure that we're doing all that we have to do according to the Department of Health. So with that, I just want to say I thank you for your continued support as we move forward, and also that so follow up so that you also know that we're going to meet with the educational committee of the NAACP that brought forth the survey. We'll have a Zoom meeting with them to set up a committee as well that will include curriculum directors, our technology folks as well. And so we will start having meetings on Zoom to set up the committee, and as soon as we set up the committees, we will bring back and start reporting back to the board.
Thank you. Any further board comments? And be it resolved that being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 5:44 p.m. And I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. In a second?
Second.
Thank you, Melissa. Meeting is adjourned.